Hey there everyone, it's Austin Bach, and welcome to my first Rivals of Ixalan draft here on Magic Online. So this is not my first draft of the format. I'm probably about 5 drafts deep at this point. I'm starting to get a good sense of what this format's all about. So let's get started. There's a couple interesting cards in this pack. Our rare is Awakened Amalgam, which I think is unplayable. Needletooth Raptor is quite good. I've been very impressed with this card. It's a card, I think it's a build around. You can combine it with different ways to ping it for 1 damage, and then this card just becomes utterly insane. Like even a card like Fanatical Firebrand, even if you have to spend a card on the 1 damage, it's totally worth it. But if you can combine this with like the Red Forerunner, that's the Wombo combo. So I think I'm going to take that here. But if that wasn't here, I do like Silvergill Adept, I like Bombard. Hunt the Weak's fine, but I think it's just between these 3 cards, and Raptor has the highest upside. Even though Dinosaurs is not generally where I want to be in red, I think red is a better color for Pirates. But you can put Needletooth Raptor in a non-dinosaur deck and it'll still be good. What do we have here? Crafty Cut Purse. I think this card is also unplayable. I mean, technically, I guess you can call it a sideboard card, but even then, it's kind of stretching it pretty thin. I don't think I would ever put this in my deck. What do we have here? We have a Swaggering Corsair, which is a good aggressive body. Frilled Deathspitter is a very similar card. Has 1 less toughness, but it has the Enrage bonus, so there's actually an argument that it might be better than Corsair for our purposes, because we're already looking to build around Enrage. So I could consider that if I wanted to stay on color. This pack is actually pretty bad. Squire's Devotion is fine. This card has impressed me, but I don't think I need to move into it, move out of another color when there's already a perfectly serviceable card in the color that I want to be. So I think I'm just going to take the Frilled Deathspitter here. Order of Dusk is also fine, but again, not quite good enough to justify moving into another color. So another Jungle Creeper, which I guess is worth noting because we saw another one, but I do think that black-green is not where I want to be. I think it's the worst color combination because there's no tribe supporting it, and this format is very similar to Ixalan, to Triple Ixalan, in that you really want to be a focused tribal deck, or else your deck's just not going to work out the way you want it to. Giltgrove Stalker is very good. Not a dinosaur, but it's a very powerful card. Swaggering Corsair if we want to stay on color. I mean, it's a fine card. I do value 2 drops very highly in this format, so there's an argument for the Stalker, and the fact that it's green, which makes it more likely that we'll have a dinosaur sub-theme, is noteworthy. So I'm not actually sure if this is correct, but I think I'm gonna go with my gut and take the 2 drop. There's also another 2 drop in a less relevant tribe and color to the Stalker, so I think this makes sense to me. Ooh, Tillinolli's Crown, that's an interesting combo with all of our Enraged guys. That's like the perfect card to put on the Needletooth Raptor, for example. There's also some more good cards in this pack. So Hardy Veteran, Swaggering Corsair number 3, I believe, is what we've seen so far, and the Fanatical Firebrand. So I could see any of these cards, but I think I like the Tillinolli's Crown here. This card has consistently impressed me, and it's a perfect combo with Enrage. I think this format is all about, you know, playing a bunch of cheap threats on the board, keeping your curve as low as possible, and then forcing them through with cards like Tillinolli's Crown, which not only helps getting small guys through like Giltgrove Stalker, but although technically that doesn't combo with the Crown, unfortunately, because it only has 1 toughness, but it just is a built-in combo with our Enrage engine, if that comes together. What do we have here? Overgrown Armosaur is playable, but not very exciting. I'm still undecided about Mutiny. I just haven't seen it enough to know if it's good. It can never kill your opponent's best creature. It can only kill the 2nd best, which is a strike against it, but it is very efficient. So I might just take it here. Aggressive Urge is fine, but it's filler. Evolving Wilds. Haven't really been too impressed with Evolving Wilds in this format. This format is very tempo heavy, so tap lands do hurt you, and you never really want to splash, so I haven't really found this to be a high pick. You obviously still play it in a 2-color deck, I'm still just undecided on how early you're supposed to take it. I'll just take a Mutiny here. Jungle Creeper number 3, geez. How many of those would we need to get to justify drafting black-green? Also, what is the pick in this pack? Sanguine Glorifier is very strong, but it's in a tribe that we are not drafting right now. Red is also dried up pretty hard here. This pack is also just not amazing though. Like, I could take the Glorifier and pivot into Vampires if it's open. And I guess I could do that and just completely abandon everything we've been doing so far, which really feels bad and is really the biggest strike against this block draft format that I've had so far. I'm going to take it here just because there's absolutely nothing for my deck. I guess the Sun-Crested Pterodon, but even that I don't think I would put in a red-white aggro deck. Alright, here's some more good cards for us. There's a lot of green bears in this pack. Probably take one of them here. Hardy Veteran I like a lot. Cheris Hatchling is a dinosaur, but I haven't really been that impressed with it because the timing works out in such a weird way that, you know, it's hard to set it up where you're really going to blow out, especially because your opponents will generally be smart and not block it when you have mana open. So I think I like Hardy Veteran better just because it attacks so well. It wears a Tilonolly's Crown very well, and generally I've been pretty impressed with it in my aggro decks. Raptors, filler. Dreadmaw is a little better than filler. It's just very expensive, and I prefer to keep my curves quite a bit lower, but I'm probably still going to take it here. Continue going down this path. Again, another Sanguine Glorifier. The thing is, this is a high quality white card, but it's only a high quality white card for the Vampires deck, and it's completely unplayable in like a red-white generic aggro deck. So there's just no room to pivot here. Such a big strike against this format. Ooh, a late Firebrand, I like that. And Strider Harness is semi-playable. Alright, so we didn't really get anything super powerful that pack, but I still don't hate the position I'm in. We have a pretty powerful combo. We have a curve that's shaping up alright so far. I'm just going to keep drafting aggro. The nice thing about drafting aggro is you really don't have to worry about your card quality so much as your curve. So as long as we keep getting the good 2 and 3 drops late in the packs, I'll be happy. Squire's Devotion Wield, that's probably wrong. I'll take that. That is a card I would play in a non-vampire deck, assuming we were red-white or green-white, which you never know, could still happen. I could abandon green pretty easily here if we saw good reason to dip into something else. Like if we open a bomb in another color, it'd be pretty easy to jump ship. Like a Tetsamok obviously would be the ideal open here, even though we haven't taken a single black card yet. Didn't see any red Forerunners. That was the card I was probably most hoping for after opening the Needletooth Raptor, because that's the 2-card combo in this format. Guess I'll take a white bear, because I could still pivot into red-white aggro. It's a pretty solid little card. Not playing any of these blue cards. Naturalize for the sideboard. So yeah, if you consider the white cards we've taken already, we haven't really seen any indication that white is super open outside of Vampires. I think black-white Vampires might have been semi-open there. It's probably the deck I would have drafted if it was easier to draft, if it was easier to pivot and we'd seen it earlier. It's pretty hard to tell in this format. This format just kind of flies in the face of the way I normally draft, which is to remain open and decide by pick, you know, 5 or 6 what archetype is open, which is what I did there. I identified the Glorifier as a signal that Vampires was open, but it was just too late by then, because there's not really any way to blend the color combinations due to the high linearity of the cards like the Glorifier. But I'll try to be optimistic. I've had fun so far in my drafts, even though it seems like just kind of a carbon copy of Ixalan with better rares. Looks like someone's disconnected in this draft, unfortunately. See if there's anyone else notable in the pod. Don't see anyone I recognize. There's a WotC employee. Don't know who that is. The week that was. The pack's finally coming to a close. Our rare is World Shaper, which is not very good. Womp womp. We could take a Knight of the Stampede, which is a powerful card if we're straight dinosaurs. We don't really have a strong dinosaur affiliation right now. We have 3, but 2 of them aren't really... Like the Death Spitter I don't consider a dinosaur in the sense that we have to build around it. The Dreadmaw is nice with the Knight because we can make it cheaper. There's also Hunt the Week that I'm looking at. It's probably just a better card for my deck, considering that we're not really looking to go big. Knight of the Stampede is better if you have lots of expensive dinos, but I'm not going to be looking to put lots of expensive dinos in my deck. I want to keep my curve low and kind of be more of a beatdown deck. And Hunt the Week works with whichever plan. Like if we do end up doing the opposite of what I said and we do end up going big, Hunt the Week's still going to be good. It'll be less good than the Knight would have been, but still a perfectly serviceable card. So I'm happy to have it here. Works well with the Raptor and any other Enrage cards we pick up. Cacophedon doesn't seem great to me. 4 mana 2/5 is fine, but not what I'm looking for in an aggro deck. It's basically just Headwater Sentries with a little bit of upside. So I guess I'll just take another Knight of the Stampede. There's nothing in any other colors that I'd really consider. Maybe a Direfleet Neckbreaker. We passed up on so many of those 3-drop raid pirates. If I had moved in on those earlier, maybe I could pivot into black. But we haven't seen any real good black dinosaur cards, or I mean pirate cards yet either, so it's really hard to say. Fathomfleet Border. I think we saw one of those in the previous pack also. But we didn't really get any of the premium 2-drops in Pirates, so who knows. I'm not really happy with Knight of the Stampede here, again, because it kind of is the opposite of what I want my deck to be doing, but we'll keep taking the cards we see and doing our best. And we could have had 4 Jungle Creepers, huh? There's another Tillinolli's Crown. This card does have diminishing returns, especially if you have lots of 1-toughness creatures in your deck that can't wear it. But I think it's still high enough upside. I think this is just what the format's about. Being as aggressive as possible and trying to get your opponent dead. Playing these bad auras to just try to overwhelm people. Probably too late to get another Needletooth Raptor, but that would be a nice card to get past here. Nope, not this pack. We have a 4/2 for 3, which is fine. Horncrest is interesting. It's at its best in red-green for sure, but is a 4/4 haste for 5 actually even better than just a 4/2 for 3? I don't know that it is. I think I would rather have the frill back actually. Ooh, lots of red cards in this pack. Oh, there's another Needletooth Raptor. Excellent. I'd be happy with any of these red cards in my deck. I was looking for cards like Buccaneer's Bravado, just cards that help my dinosaurs survive in combat, like +1/+1 first strike. Even if we have no pirates, I'd be happy to play. So hopefully we get maybe some sure strikes in the next pack, or maybe crash the ramparts, that kind of thing. But Needletooth Raptor seems like exactly what I want to be doing. So another Bravado. Probably just going to take this Gilt Grove Stalker though, because I do want to make sure I have enough 2-drops in my deck. Atsukan Seer, I think it's too late to pivot out of red, given that all of our best engine cards are in red. So I'm just going to stick to my guns here. So yeah, now the only thing I'm concerned about is making sure my curve works. It may look like this deck is a pile of cards with no removal and traditionally good cards, but we've got the minor engine of the Needletooths plus the Tillinolly's Crown. Now I'm just looking for some combat tricks and more 2 and 3 drops. And if we get enough cards, I'd be happy to cut this Knight of the Stampede and the Colossal Dreadmaw. Form of the Dinosaur, huh? I do like this card. Don't know if this is the deck for it, ironically. Form of the Dinosaur, and we don't want it in a dinosaur deck. I had this in a previous deck. I had like a blue-red weird control deck, and it was pretty good for me. But I do think that this is worth taking. Like, if you can play it with any sort of board presence, you're generally just going to win the game on the spot. It's just very hard for your opponent to dig out from under it if they're not able to apply any pressure to you. Even though it does kill you eventually, if you draft an aggro deck, you can make it so that, you know, you're not in a position where you're going to get chipped away. Like, you can hold on to it until you've established a board presence. The fact that it costs 6 mana sort of helps in that endeavor. Alright, here we have a decision between a Corsair and another Tillinolly's Crown. I should probably just start taking efficient bodies at this point, make sure that my curve is filled out, even though I wouldn't mind having more Tillinolly's Crowns. Don't have any evasion. There's generally not much evasion in red-green anyway, but it's really nice to slap a Tillinolly's Crown on a flyer. We didn't see any Sea Reds either, which is another card I liked. I think I like it slightly better than the Tillinolly's Crown even. Enrage combos notwithstanding, just because First Strike is so important in this archetype. And we also passed up on that Buccaneer's Bravado. I think 2 of them that I would have liked, but I think it was more important to fill out the curve. You kind of need a lot of things to go right in this kind of deck, which I don't love. Man, look at all these strong cards that I can't play. It's disappointing. I'm certainly not splashing. I don't want Shatter, especially when I already have double Naturalize. So, guess I'll take a Stormfleet Sprinter and feel bad about it. It's weird to me that there was a Merfolk Mistbinder still hanging around in that pack, because I didn't see any indication that the Merfolk deck was open. But that is like the highest priority Merfolk card. I'm not sure what people are doing. Nothing for us here. See, like, I could pretty easily do without all these green cards if we had enough cards to pivot into another color in the last pack, but we just don't, because the only option at this point would be white, and we have like 2 playables for white. 4, 5, so that would be 11, 13 playables. No, 11 playables. So if I pivoted into red-white for pack 3, I would have to make up for 12 playables, which just isn't possible. Especially in Exilon, which is much lower in playables than Rivals is. This guy is still disconnected, so this might take a while. Alright, nothing here. I don't even know what this does. Oh, this card. Yeah, this card's very good. But again, it's a little too late to pivot here. I'll take it anyway. Bear's not playable either, even though it's in our colors. I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that I'm not going to do very many Rivals of Ixalan drafts. Probably just going to go back to grinding standard, because I just haven't seen enough from this draft format to make me think it's going to be any better than Triple Ixalan. Ooh, wow. We got both of these cards back? Jeez. Both of them are so important for us. I think I need to focus on my curve at this point. I hate the fact that I had to pass so many Buccaneers Bravados, though. That card would be quite good in our deck. Just hoping we get some sure strikes in the next pack. Maybe a swashbuckling or two. But a 2-4 for 2 is just so hard for some people to beat, especially once you start slapping auras on it. You really want to be first to the board in this format. So again, I'd like to cut this. Alright, fine, Shatter, you can be in my sideboard. I'd like to cut the Knight of the Stampede, and probably the Colossal Dreadmaw, but I mean, I wouldn't be upset with this card being in my deck. I would like to draft a lower curve and like 16 land, but you know, Dreadmaw does win games on its own. Sometimes your aggro plan doesn't come together. Removal's not amazing. We're kind of relying on the Needletooth Raptors as removal right now. But hey, that's something. I think we saw one Bombard in the very first pack that we passed up on. Would have been nice, but oh well. Now we just gotta wait for the auto picker to finish. Looks like we're just about getting there. And here we go, pack 3. More good blue cards I can't play. So, Dinosaur Stampede I'm not in love with, but it's playable. There's some good cards for us. Ryle is like a worse version of Tillinolli's Crown, but it does combo with the Needletooth Raptor. It's just pretty unplayable otherwise. I mean, it's a cantrip, but you know. Dual Shot, sort of same deal, but it has more applications because you can target your opponent's stuff. Crash the Ramparts, Swashbuckling, Unfriendly Fire. I would be fine with any of those cards. I'm looking at the Swashbuckling as the most likely candidate. That seems to be what my deck's all about. And then after that, I might even take Crash the Ramparts over Unfriendly Fire. I'm just not that impressed with Unfriendly Fire. It's a little too expensive for my tastes. Don't know if that's correct, but all of my experience in this format has led me to this point, unfortunately. Here we have a Snapping Sailback, which hasn't impressed me. Ixali's Keeper's pretty good. Probably just take that here. Ixali's Diviner's playable, but I'd rather have something with power in this kind of deck. Ooh, there's some good cards in this pack. There's a Tillinolli's Knight, a Ranging Raptors, another New Horizons, and Trancing Melody is great. Like, I don't know at what point in the draft we could have looked into moving into blue, but I've seen a lot of good blue cards in this pack. Like, we wheeled that blue Merfolk guy, we got the Stormfleet Sprinter on the wheel. I don't know, this format doesn't let you draft individual colors, you have to draft color combinations, so I guess I'm taking Tillinolli's Knight. It's a 2-drop. How many dinosaurs do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. None of these are dinosaurs. Does this make things into dinosaurs? No. Form of the Dinosaur basically makes me into a dinosaur, but not literally. But I think I still take the Tillinolli's Knight. Even though Ranging Raptors is a very similarly power level card, I think the Knight is better for our purposes. Another Keeper, Headstrong Brute, Hijack, Ravenous Daggertooth. I like the Daggertooth here. Minor Enrage combos, and now we have a reason to want dinosaurs. Plus it just fills our curve in a good way. So I think it's better to take it. We have a good number of 2-drops now. We've got, what, 6 plus the Firebrand, so I'm not too worried about having something to do on turn 2. So I'm okay with taking a 3-drop. Usually I have the opposite problems, where you don't have enough 2-drops and you have a large amount of 3-drops and you would wish that some of them were 2s, but this seems to be the opposite problem, which is a good thing in general. Be happy with any of these red and green cards, really. Feeling a little less panicky now. Man, other Shapers of Nature, what are you going to do, right? I guess this is a pretty easy Crash the Ramparts. I do want at least one of these effects in my deck. Now we're just looking to fill out our curve with whatever aggro options we can to supplement all of our nonsense enchantment theme. Can't be blocked with creatures with 2 or less, so this is a good target to put a Swashbuckling on. Not a Tillinolli's Crown, though. One combo I found myself using more often than I thought was Tillinolli's Crown on a 1-drop plus Buccaneer's Bravado to give it +1/+1. That was a combo that I had to use a couple times in my previous draft. Do not recommend. But I do like the design of this card, the fact that it deals 1 damage. I mean, it's an upside and a downside, because there's a surprising number of 1 toughness aggressive creatures in this format that you can't slap the crown on. So it's good design in that, you know, you don't just get to have a +3/+0 trample for free, but also, you know, you still get to combo it with your raptors and whatnot. So it kind of works both ways. It's a kind of interesting design that I'd like to see more often. Should we have been like Teamer mid-range? Alright, this seems like a fine opportunity to pick up a Ryle. I'll probably play it at this point. I mean, obviously it's currently my 23rd playable, but there's probably some cards in this deck that I would cut before I cut Ryle, namely the Knight of the Stampede, assuming I pick up another comparable creature to fill out the curve with. Dual Shot. Don't know if I would play Dual Shot and Ryle, but Dual Shot is probably better than Ryle. So I'll make that swap. Nothing for us here. I mean, our deck ended up fine. It's kind of a screwball aggro deck, but it can win games. Given that it was never really clear which deck we were supposed to be in, the fact that we couldn't pivot at any point once it became clear that our colors weren't necessarily open, and the fact that we didn't get any bomb rares to sort of make up for the fact that we weren't sure what we were doing there for a while, I think we ended up with a fine deck. I guess you can consider Form of the Dinosaur a bomb rare. I guess we'll see, right? I haven't had enough experience with it. Like I said, I had it in that one deck, and I put it into play a couple of times. I think 3 times total over that draft, and 2 of the times it won me the game handily, and the other time I was too far behind and it just whittled me away. But I wasn't gonna come back from that game anyway, most likely. Dinosaur Stampede Wield. I mean, we could play it, but I probably won't. I still would rather have another creature so I can replace this Knight of the Stampede. 23 land seems fine. Don't have any mana sinks, but we do want to cast a couple 6-drops. And in general, we want to be able to go like 2-drop, 3-drop, 2-drop, 2-drop, so we don't really want to miss our first 4 land drops. Realistically, our first 5 or 6. I think we'll be okay. let's just say I've had worse decks in this format. New Horizons is playable. Probably still not gonna make my deck though, because I'm not interested in splashing, and I don't really want to take a full turn off for ramp when I don't need it. Blossom Dryad is not a creature I'm going to put in my deck either. I think this card is generally a mistake to play even if you're interested in ramping and fixing. It's just too small and too expensive. For this format specifically. In some formats it would be just fine, but this format's all about tempo. As much as I don't love the Knight of the Stampede, it is a big butt attacker, which is attractive with the Telenali's Crown. It makes it hard to block. Ooh, a hijack, I might play that. We'll consider it at least. I do still need to cut a card if we are going to play that, so there's a chance I don't. But I do like the effect generally in this kind of deck. I don't think I'm cutting a creature. I need all the creatures I can get. So what if my spells are we can do away with? The dual shot's probably the most likely. I'm still unsure about Mutiny. I'm going to play it just because I want to see it get played and see if it does enough for me. Even though I'm skeptical, and I might cut it normally in this scenario. Obviously not cutting Hut the Weak. I don't think I'm cutting Form of the Dinosaur. I could cut Colossal Dreadmaw, but if I cut the Dreadmaw, then I'd want to cut the Knight of the Stampede too, and I don't really want to replace both of those. So I think this like mini combo is still fine. And even though we don't have that many expensive dinos, this card's still nice because we can go like play it, and then the next turn we can play like a Needletooth Raptor and a 2-drop or something. Mana efficiency is nice. Probably start without the hijack, but we'll board it in some matchups, like we play against another dinosaurs deck or something. Guess we do have a mana sink, come to think of it. Forgot about this Exali's Keeper. Didn't get a chance to play with this very much in Triple Ixalan. First of all, I didn't play much Triple Ixalan because I got tired of that format pretty quick, but also it just didn't really fit into any of the tribes. But now you have more options to be just a hyper aggro deck in other tribes other than Merfolk. So even though it doesn't have any relevant creature types, much like the Hardy Veteran, you know, it's more acceptable to do that. It's just generally better to go all in on the tribal synergies. We just didn't end up with many this time around. But I think this is what I'm going to go with. They recommend 9-8, and I think I agree with that assessment. Let's go ahead and submit this and head into round 1.